The weight of success. Hello, and welcome to Profit Titans, the award-winning podcast that presents penetrating journeys into the incredible minds of today's most successful business people. I'm Rod Emmel, the host and creator of Profit Titans. This week, Profit Titans is made possible by our sponsor, Sebastian's Bespoke, designers and makers of incomparable leather and ebony computing keyboards. You didn't spend good money on redecorating the office only to plunk a plastic keyboard on top of that mahogany desk? Use my code PDPOD to save $200 when you add a monogrammed embossed spacebar to your order. This is a limited time offer, so place your order today for a stunning bespoke keyboard at sebastianskeys.com and use the code PDPOD. You deserve the best. And speaking of the best, I'm incredibly excited to welcome none other than Jeff Kissel to the podcast. Mr. Kissel needs no introduction, of course, but in case you're a space alien or your net chip dislodged, here are just a few things to know about the illustrious accomplishments of this great technovator. When online meetings were just starting up with the old modes like Teams, Zoom, and FaceTime, who remembers FaceTime? Few people had the imagination to predict how this new way of getting together could shape our lives, but here we are, reshaped. A great deal of that transformation is thanks to the innovations of Jeff Kissel. Jeff famously started his enterprise from his basement and in just over a decade went on to revolutionize how the students of the world learn. Of course, I'm talking about Super School, Fortune 500's top company since 2025 and a true global phenomenon in the business world and well beyond. I'm thrilled to have Jeff Kissel with me today. Jeff, welcome.
Thanks, Rob. I've listened to your podcast several times. I especially enjoyed your conversation with Elon. Like you and your listeners, I don't go out much, not for personal reasons or for the business really, so when you contacted my assistant about this interview, I thought this would be a good time to go public with my new project.
Wow, I'm flattered to know you've listened before, and so grateful that you agreed to spend some time with the Profit Titan audience. And a new project, how exciting! So Jeff, you've been credited with revolutionizing the entire scope of education with your tech suite, Super School. From kindergartens to universities, students and teachers learn and instruct from the comfort and safety of their homes. They never have to step foot in a classroom or pick up a book. Give us a walkthrough. How did this all get started?
Well, as you know, Wave 1 of the pandemic was the catalyst for the software development. The first couple years saw some steady growth in the business as the education industry did whatever they could to pivot and adapt. But the whole product suite really all took off soon after the Variant 3 wave. That's the same time we launched the net chips and the content context. Once we'd established simple implantation methods for the net chips, parents could easily use the applicator at home. The CCs were rapidly adopted since people already know how to use contact lenses. At that point, it was just a matter of product rollout and network regrowth and maintenance.
Since then, as we know, Super School has been implemented in 75 countries. It's just remarkable. According to my research, the company is worth $880 billion US. You're likely to hit $1 trillion if this famous new deal with the armed forces is closed. Now, what's next for Jeff Kissel? Tell us about this new project.
I'm glad you asked, Robin. I guess you're getting quite a scoop today. There's been, a lot happening with me these past few months. You probably know that I lost my entire Silicon Valley compound in last year's earthquake. It was scary to say the least, and it created in me some need to flee. I was having a bad time, honestly. My husband suggested we go to his old family cabin in Maine, and I thought, yeah, that might be just the thing I needed, so that's what we did. Restrictions were really lifting then, you'll recall, and the CDC had administered the variant 5B vaccine right across the country. We only took a few belongings and flew to New York and then bought a vehicle and drove up to Maine. Oh, that's the last time I flew on the 3Rs, my private jet. Anyway, we've been in Maine ever since, and I guess the past several months have been dismantling the company.
Excuse me, did you say dismantling the company?
Yes, I'm closing down Super School. Since coming east and spending time recovering from the losses out west, I've come to some sort of epiphany, I guess you could call it. When I lived in California, it was all work, work, work. I never even went to restaurants or theaters when they reopened a couple years ago. I got used to living and working at the compound, and that was my lifestyle. I believed it was a chosen lifestyle, but I can see now that it wore me. I didn't wear it, if that makes sense. My only flow was workflow. My only growth was profit margins. Anyway, the restrictions were already pretty well lifted in Maine when we got there, and the whole vibe was so unfamiliar. People were outside. I mean, they weren't out only to get gas or to go to the first-line worker detachments. They were outside walking, on the sidewalks, in parks. People were on bikes. To my eyes, it was like another planet. It truly was. I felt inspired, and one day I decided to do it too. I decided I would go for a walk on a beach near the cabin. I left without wearing my breathing mesh, and I even disabled my arm screen. I just went outside for a walk. Hadn't done that in years. A playground was next to an entrance to the beach, and I found myself stopping and staring at these ruins. Rusty swings, rotted teeter-totters, busted climbing structures. At that moment, I realized I hadn't seen any children in town. Not one. I saw adults, mostly middle-aged and elderly people. I mean, I hadn't been out and about in any town for years, but I knew there were children, millions of school-aged children in towns all over Maine, the United States, the whole world. I knew there were millions because they all used my technology. I suddenly had the clearest, most sobering moment of my life. Was this happening everywhere? Did children not play outside with their friends anymore? Had they ever? Was I responsible for this? That final question almost brought me to my knees, like there was a weight on my shoulders. The weight of responsibility, the weight of success. My great success didn't emerge from a vacuum. It came out of a need, like most companies do. That need, that stopgap set of measures, wasn't meant to last forever. Looking at that abandoned playground somehow brought the truth to me in an instant. I did an innovative thing, and it helped millions of people. Now all I could see was damage and some unnatural, undesirable state of affairs, and I thought, if I help start this, I can help end it. As I walked along the beach that day, I began envisioning a plan to re-engineer schooling back to pre-pandemic times, to get students and teachers together again in person in classrooms. I knew most governments had become accustomed to the ease of streaming funding to one education delivery system that seamlessly coordinated across grades, levels, schools, geographical location. And that was the beauty of the product, and I still believe it is a good product, and I'm proud of what Super School did to enable years of learning that might have otherwise been lost. However, I believe the time has come to provide less structured, tech-free learning options for parents, their children, and their teachers. I've been doing research, and I've gathered data from tens of thousands of people, informing me that an option they want is to be in real bricks and mortar schools with real flesh and blood people. I have the means to make that happen for millions of students and teachers who are ready for another way to learn and teach. There's a generation of children who have never been to school, as we knew it when we were young, parents who have never waved to their kids as they rode away on the bus on a September morning. I'm reinvesting Super School profits to instigate a global movement to get everyone back into classrooms. This will mean refurbishing or rebuilding hundreds of thousands of schools that have been empty and unused all these years, getting playgrounds and gyms back up to snuff, ensuring music students have the instruments they need, making science labs operational. I mean, the list goes on and on. You're about my age, Rob. I'm sure you remember what school used to be like. The new foundation is going to bring that back for those who seek a return to the so-called old ways. Jeff, This is almost too much to take in. What do you call this social enterprise? It's called B2B F2F, the Back to Basis Face-to-Face Foundation.
The weight of success.